Hi guys. It's been a long time. The last video I filmed was before I had our child. I am officially a mother now, and it's been a lot. I have a whole list of things that I want to talk about. I have no idea how I'm even doing this video because I was originally thinking that I was just gonna do a chatty get ready with me video, but then I realized that's so much to talk about and it's really hard for me to talk and do my makeup about and think about important things that I need to say, so I just kind of wrote down some bullet points because I did want to talk to you guys about it and I did want to talk about my experience because I think that it's worth sharing and it's also worth remembering for myself. I don't know how long I'll be able to talk because my baby is napping and he's been napping for a bit now, so we'll see if he wakes up soon. But yeah, it's been a minute and he is already 3 months old and it is killing me that it's already been so long, and now I'm about to go back in and relive all these memories. And yeah, so I was almost a week past due and this was May 1st, and yeah, I was almost a week past due and I had not had any contractions. My doctor asked if I had felt like he was dropping at all or anything, and there was nothing. I had been doing squats, I had been walking, I had been exercising and doing prenatal yoga. No contractions, so I was almost 41 weeks. Didn't feel anything. Overall, my pregnancy was pretty good, but at that point I was okay, he's a big boy, because he was measuring almost 8 pounds at a couple weeks prior to that, so he was already getting pretty big, and it was time for him to start scooting out of there, So anyway, my doctor tells me to basically, I don't think he was supposed to do this, but he was he told me to schedule an induction, or he scheduled me an induction. The hospital called me and was yeah, we can do it on Wednesday, which is 5 days after your due date or something like that. And my doctor called me and he said, I don't think we should wait that long. I think you should admit yourself this weekend and we will start the induction if you admit yourself and say that you're not feeling as many baby kicks or something. So, it flew under the radar, but I don't know if that was necessarily something he was supposed to do, but he kind of vouched for me because he said that he would be the doctor on call that weekend, which was great because I wanted my own doctor, preferably to deliver my baby, just because he already knows everything. I don't have to explain too much of what's going on and so forth. So that's what I did. I admitted myself and I said that I'm not feeling as many baby kicks and whatever, and yeah, so we went in, got admitted, we packed all of our stuff, and they basically started me on Pitocin. And Pitocin is it's not really that bad, it's just it makes you start having contractions. So I mean, overall contractions literally suck so much. I had talked to my friends and I was asking what their experience with an epidural was, and they said that it was, for one of my friends, she had an amazing labor and delivery and I'm so happy for her. She said she didn't really feel anything and it was just pressure and with the epidural, yada yada. And my other friend, it didn't really work for her at all. So it can be a 50-50 situation sometimes. Most of the time it should work though. And I would say for the most part it was working up until a point, and then it started, I feel it wasn't working at all. I started having at first I wasn't feeling anything and they were you're having a contraction right now, and I was nuh-uh. And then it ended up being that I was feeling every contraction and it started getting so bad and it was hurting so much, and the anesthesiologist, I'm so bad at saying that word, Came back in a couple times, gave me like a higher dose of whatever drug the epidural was. I'm gonna rewind because the epidural was the most terrifying part probably of the entire experience for me. Like, it was borderline, I hate like sounding dramatic, but it was borderline traumatizing, and I think about it all the time and it still freaks me out. Basically, the anesthesiologist came in. She brought this like hefty nurse guy with her who like was wearing a big hoodie and whatever. She had me sit on the edge of the bed and like hunch over, and I was like holding onto this nurse guy, stranger man, that is uncomfortable, while she was essentially inserting a massive needle into my back that thankfully I did not see. But my husband was sitting behind me, he saw the whole thing, and he was like, he didn't say anything because he didn't want to freak me out more. And I'm not really like that scared of needles, but thinking about it, like, it was so bad, and it hurt so much because basically it's getting inserted into your spine, and like there's something to do with like a thread. I don't really even know. I didn't really want to know that much about it to be quite honest. But you know, your spine is so sensitive, and your back is like linked to so many different nerves and whatever, and the nurse I was basically like holding on to for dear life was like, tell me, like, say if it hurts on either side or something like that, because they have to get it like right in the middle or something to like numb both your legs. At least that's, I think, how it works. And it started shooting agonizing pain down my right leg, and I kept saying like right, like it's hurting my right so bad. Like I was like starting to scream. It gives me like the heebie-jeebies. And eventually she like got it right and whatever, but it was just like those couple minutes were so freaking terrible. I don't know that I would do an epidural again because it freaked me out so bad. So anyway, got the epidural. Like I said, it was working great, and then it started like not really working, and I started feeling contractions like pretty heavily, in my opinion, you know, considering some people are like, oh yeah, I didn't feel it at all for like the whole time. I think I was feeling it pretty strong. And so the anesthesiologist would come in occasionally and give me like higher doses of the drug, and that would help for like an hour or two maybe, and it just felt like it wasn't really doing like enough for me, and I wish it was. But at some point the nurse was like, really the only thing we can do at this point, if you're not having any pain relief, is redo the epidural. So I was like really like on a way that was freaking awful, to the point where I was like, well, it's so bad, maybe I will talk to the anesthesiologist and consider it, because I was struggling. And we kind of had a little bit of a back and forth tiff, because I was obviously in a lot of pain, so I was perhaps a little more snappy or whatever than I should have been. But she comes in and is like, at this point, like, I don't think the epidural will do anything for you because, you know, you're so far into it and so forth. And I was like, but I'm in, and she also, this is what the issue was, is that she said, it doesn't look like you're in a lot of pain. And then she goes over to the stupid smiley face chart and is like, because you're saying that your pain is at like an 8 or a 9, and you're talking to me and whatever, and you're saying that, and to me you look like you're at a 3. And I was like, well, you can't, not everybody is gonna like look the same when they're having a lot of pain. And she said, yeah, but if you were in that much pain, you wouldn't be talking and having a big conversation with me. And I'm like, that's not for you to decide. Like, I'm in a lot of pain. I'm pretty sure I can decide. Like, I know myself, and maybe I am being able to talk through it, but that doesn't mean that I'm not really hurting. So anyway, we decided not to do the epidural, and I think in the end, like, maybe that's for the best, because we could have redone it and it might have not done anything, and it would have just been a lot more pain and a lot more freaky stuff that I'm not a fan of, or not much outcome. So I guess it is what it is. But yeah, unfortunately, I don't think the epidural worked as well for me as it has for other people. Anyway, back labor, that is a thing, and it is the worst. In the beginning, I was like, man, it just feels like there's like a, like I literally like moved a little bit in my bed because I was like, is there like something under my back? Like, what the heck? It felt like there was a golf ball or like a tennis ball like in my back, like up kind of high, and I was like, what is that? And then as the labor progressed and my baby started dropping his fat little head lower, I realized it was his head, and his head was pushing against my back so bad. It was excruciating back labor, you guys. Like, it was terrible, and there's nothing really that I could do because of the epidural. So in some aspects, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't have got the epidural, and maybe I could have like walked around and like made myself feel a little better just because I would be able to do something. I really don't know. It's my first baby, like, who the heck knows how the next one's gonna go, type of thing. Like, and maybe there's some things I wish I had done a little differently, but anyway, point being, back labor sucks, and I wouldn't wish it upon anyone because it is the worst. I'm pretty sure probably everybody gets it, I would think. If you're feeling contractions, I don't know. For me, it was bad. His head was just like so much pressure against my back, and it would hurt. Like, it's not just pressure for me, it hurt. And anyway, so the nurses were, I only pretty much had like one nurse, and it would be a different nurse every day or whatever, or through the night, would come in and turn me and whatever. And Joseph was such a sweetheart. I'm so thankful that I could have someone there with me. If you have to go through it alone, I'm so sorry, because it was, I don't know that it's something anybody can really handle. So anyway, yeah, he was so sweet. He helped turn me all the time. He helped the nurse a lot with like just moving my body, because like literally I was a limp doll, like from the waist down, and just helping me turn and everything, just so I could feel a little more comfortable even though I was still having contractions. Like, it just was so kind, and he was truly like the best, biggest support person I could have ever had. So anyway, I was in labor for 36 hours, which it was a little long. It was a little long. Baby did not want to come out. He was cozy in there, okay? Yeah, 36 hours, it's a long time to be in labor, in my opinion. I know some people are in labor much longer. I feel for you, because it was a lot for me. And I was pushing for the whole 4 hours. The whole 4 hours, because you're not really supposed to be pushing longer than that, apparently, because it can lead to complications. So after the 4-hour mark of me pushing, trying to push, whatever, like apparently I wasn't really pushing that great to some degree, because like sometimes I would do a really good push and then sometimes I would do a crappy push. And 4 hours of like heavy breathing and like pushing through contractions, and like you're sweating, and you're like, I literally was in the most humiliating positions, but like when you're going, it's funny because like I was so concerned about embarrassing myself or just everybody seeing everything. I'm like, you think that you're gonna care? You do not care. You do not care. It doesn't matter. No one cares. The nurses have seen it all. Like, I know everybody says that, and everybody was saying that to me, and I was like, I'm still probably gonna be thinking about it and whatever. Literally the last thought in my mind, I did not care. Like, everybody already had seen everything. Like, it was a lot. It was a lot for me to just put myself out there and put myself in the hands of other people. But yeah, you will not care. Like, literally, I think there was probably 10 people in the room when I was actually giving birth, and last thing on my mind was all of that. But truly, just the pushing alone put me in such a like dazed not completely like coherent state of mind. It's so much on your body to be doing that for that long. Like, if you can picture like the most difficult possible poop that you have ever had to push out in your life, magnify that by like 20,000 times, and then you're pushing, what was it? It was like you would do like 3 pushes, and you would try to like, she would count it to like 10 or something like that, or 8, and you would be like holding the push, and you wouldn't be breathing. Like, you're not, believe it or not, she said that you're not supposed to breathe. At least that's what my nurse told me, is like once you're pushing, you're supposed to be like holding your breath, working on pushing as much as you can, and then exhale. And then you quickly go back into it, and you're holding your breath, and you're pushing. You can't breathe. It's excruciating, like, just all of that for so long. It was so much, and I hope my next baby comes a lot freaking faster. So anyway, after 4 hours, they were like, okay, unfortunately, not necessarily unfortunately, but they had to intervene. So my doctor came in. I was having really bad contractions. Well, not really bad. I was having contractions. Everybody knows that contractions are already bad, okay? I was having contractions. For me, they were bad. Then my doctor came in. I really like my doctor, but he has this way of talking very slowly when he's explaining things, and there was like a room, like there was probably already 8 people in the room that came in. There was NICU nurses that came in just in case. There was another doctor with him just in case he needed help. There was my nurse, who was an angel. It's interesting because at first when I met my nurse, who was actually like helping me through my delivery, I was kind of like apprehensive of her because she just wasn't quite as like sweet and everything as my other nurse. She was much more of like a get it done. And at one point when I was pushing and all of that, I said like to my Joseph, who was right next to me, I was like, I don't think I can do this. Like, I want to get a C-section. And oh man, it makes me like emotional thinking about how hard it was. But she that's so stupid when people do that. She was the one who said to me, like, your baby needs you. Calvin needs you, and you need to push through this for him because he's can't stay in there much longer. This first time I'm crying on camera. And just like her motivation, she was so like, she was such like a motivator, and like such like a, so much more of like a, you're gonna get it done and you can do it. And like, I literally miss my nurses because they were such amazing people. Thankfully, like, I'm so lucky that I had like such an amazing team to take care of me and stuff. But yeah, she was like the biggest motivator, because the nurse I had prior, who was like helping me learn how to push initially, she was just like, she was a little more like easygoing and very sweet, and like, she was so kind and I loved her. But this next nurse was who I needed to get through it. Like, she was my ride or die. Like, she was like, you can do this, you're gonna do it, you're gonna push this baby out, your baby needs you, like, he needs you, he needs to be out here with you. Like, it was crazy. I didn't know I needed her until I had my baby, and I was like, I don't know if I could have done this without that nurse. So anyway, as I was saying, my doctor came in, and he has this way of like slowly explaining things sometimes, and just like not necessarily fumbling over his words, but just making sure that you're very understanding. And I'm very understanding, and I was really going through it. And he was talking to me about basically doing like the vacuum, which is basically, it sounds more scary than it actually is, at least to me. It's essentially like this little cup. It's like a little suction cup, and it's like yay big, and it's yellow. Mine was yellow, his was yellow, whatever. It has a string on it essentially, and they literally just stick it on your baby's head, pull it, so that way your baby can get some momentum to come out, because yeah, he was stuck in there. Not stuck in there, but it was a lot for me and my little body to push him out. So he was just explaining that and like making sure that that was fine and whatever, and I was like, yes, it's fine, like it's fine, just do it. That's literally like what I was saying. And then he turns to my husband, who is, you know, more coherent than me, because at some point I even had to get like oxygen because I was starting to like get really dizzy. So, you know, he explains it to my husband, who's like, yes, that's fine, because he wanted to make sure that I wasn't just jumping ahead of myself and agreeing to things without, you know, a second person to be my alibi, whatever. He is like, just so you know, like it might pop off of your baby's head and it can sound a little scary and it might feel weird. That did happen one time. I definitely screamed when it happened because it was painful, and it just because of the baby like jerking back after he's already like out so far, like it hurt at least to me. And anyway, the second time though, I was like pushing. I literally was like on the verge of passing out. It's so intense, and pushing like crazy, and he's like, yes, like keep pushing like that. I don't even know what I was doing. I guess I was doing it okay. And then Calvin came out, and he was a purple and blue baby, 100%. They basically like chucked him onto me. I literally like barely remember this. Like I remember it, but I was in such a daze from just pure exhaustion that I remember him being on me, and I just remember like looking at him and thinking like to myself in my brain, oh my God. And that was kind of it. And he wasn't awake, at least I don't think. I think he was passed out, and shut up, people in the hallway. And the NICU nurses basically took him off of me like super quickly, I think. And the doctor said like, I'm sorry, Joe, we're gonna have to cut the umbilical cord because Joe is gonna do it. And I didn't want to take the umbilical cord off that soon, but he wasn't sentient, so the NICU nurses had to take him over to that little table like in the corner of the room, and he was quiet, like he was really quiet. And it's scarier now thinking about it, but in the moment I just was like not alive, like I said. But I remember praying out loud. I said, God, please have him be okay. Or something like that. And the NICU nurses were like, hey Calvin, and they were like shaking him and rubbing him and whatever. And then we heard him cry, which was like, oh, thank God. And they held him up. I have to find these pictures because he does not look like our baby in these pictures. They held him up so Joseph could snap some quick pictures, and then they pretty much had to take him into the NICU right away while I got stitched up. Also, regarding like stitches and stuff like that, because I didn't really touch on that. Yeah, I did get stitches. I don't know how many, and I really do want to know, but I have no idea of finding that out. So, yeah, I did get stitches. Overall, like most of my healing, you have to keep in mind, like, well, not most of, but like I feel like the worst of it was like I healed in the hospital while I was there, because we were there for a while. So just gonna be here for a second. You're so cute. So keep that in mind. But I don't think I had like a very difficult healing process, thankfully. No real reason as to why that is, just some people have it easier, some people have it harder. I wouldn't say mine was that bad. The like ice pack pads that they give you in the hospital, those are so nice. I was using those constantly. So definitely like ask for those. And also one of my nurses gave me what's called a sitz bath, and they literally just like fill up a thing. It's like a little thing that sits in the toilet with like warm water, and you literally just like sit in it and kind of just like let yourself bleed. I mean, you can't even control it anyway, but it feels so nice, like just on your down there when you're after you've given birth. So yeah, definitely like maybe ask about that. They even like gave me it to take home, but I didn't want to. I only did it one time, but it was really, really nice. So I would say that's something that's really nice to do, and I didn't even know that it was a thing. So yeah, my nurse was like, it's really nice, and I was like hesitant about it because I was just like, I just don't want to do anything ever because I'm so tired. But it was nice, and I would recommend it. Also, while they were stitching me, like the two doctors were like talking about like housing markets and cars while I was just sitting there like being stitched. And thankfully, like I guess the epidural was working well enough that I didn't feel the stitches, but like I definitely let out some like, not screams, like I'm not like a loud screamer, but you know what I mean. It was, yeah, I don't need to explain more than that. So this is like one of the very first pictures where he was like first like sentient, and come on, he just he just doesn't look like our baby to me. I'm just like he looks like our baby, but he doesn't quite, you know, he doesn't have like the, he just was like, what is going on? Why am I out here? And I understand. And I told Joseph to like take pictures like in the moments and everything when I was like going through it, but he just said like, no, like you were in too much pain, and with everything going on, like I wasn't gonna like whip out my camera and stuff like that. So I appreciate his decision, like because like while I do think it would have been neat to get like a picture of him like very first on me, even if he was all blue and purple, it's fine, like it's not a big deal to me. So Joseph followed the NICU nurses down and spent time with him and everything, and I'm really grateful that he got to go down there and be with him. Also, Joe was like standing there right next to me, and he saw, I'm sorry I'm jumping around, he saw like everything. He saw like my, what do you call that? He saw like my placenta come out, he saw the baby get born. He said like it was a lot. So props to him for like not passing out or anything, and just being like the most strong support person ever, ever, ever. He is the best, and I could not have done it without him. I love him so much. So when they have to massage your stomach for, you know, helping with internal bleeding, it is almost as bad as a contraction. Like, it's not even as bad, it's bad. It's just a different kind of pain. It hurts so bad. They like literally just like press and like rub your stomach around. Ugh, it hurts so bad. And I was like, how many times do we have to do this? And my nurse said I have to do it 8 times. I don't even know if she did it 8 times, because I think after a certain point it got like better or something, or she could tell that I was fine, because I don't remember her doing it 8 times. And it did get better a little bit like after a couple times of her doing it, but the first couple times, excruciating pain. Like I had to like literally like breathe through it. It just, ugh, it hurt so much. So that's another crappy part that they don't tell me about. But anyway, I finally got wheeled down to go see my baby in the NICU. He wasn't a preemie or anything. He was born like 9 pounds or something like that. I think almost 10. So he's a big boy. He definitely was not a preemie. All the NICU nurses were like, this is the biggest baby we've seen down here. He was down there basically for low glucose, and he also had like a tiny bit of what do you call that, jaundice, but they didn't need to do like the light therapy or anything. They just said like, it's just something to keep in mind, like he has a bit of jaundice, whatever. And that was it. Like it was just low glucose. So unfortunately though, because of that, we had to keep him in the NICU for a couple days. Like I think 5 days is the total that we were in the hospital, or maybe 6 days. And also I was being monitored for high blood pressure, which kind of like skyrocketed out of nowhere. And I think it was just because of like, obviously like the endurance and the stress from giving birth, but also like the stress alone of just being in the hospital, because I really wanted to breastfeed, and I wanted to try so hard, and it was working out. Like, I was having my milk come in and everything, like I was pumping, but you have to go down to breastfeed your baby every 3 hours around the clock, and I was so dedicated for the first like few days. And then, you know, we would breastfeed him, and then we would give him formula after, just because I wasn't producing enough milk. But he was breastfeeding pretty well, I would say, for the most part. Like, sometimes he would be so sleepy and it was really difficult to get him to like wake up and whatever, which is normal. But it is hard when you're trying, because like you can't have them be, you know, trying to breastfeed for too long, because then they're just burning calories that they don't have, and so on and so forth. So anyway, trying to go down long hallways when I'm like fatigued and recovering from giving birth, and I also have high blood pressure, which was giving me like really bad headaches, which Tylenol was not working. I should have asked for ibuprofen, because I think ibuprofen just works better for me, but I don't know why I didn't think of that. Anyway, super bad headaches. Occasionally I would feel like dizzy or out of it, so I was getting like wheelchaired around most of the time. Down long hallways, down an elevator, into the NICU every 3 hours. And then between then you're like trying to pump, you're getting checked in on, you're taking medications, you're trying to literally like sleep, and then they're like, are you eating and are you resting? And you're like, well, I'm trying, but it's impossible. Like, when you're in the hospital, it is impossible if you're trying to do all that. And if you are a mom that managed to breastfeed your kid while in the NICU, and also while you're in the hospital yourself for whatever reasons, I applaud you, because at the end I was not able to do it. And I, of course, was on, you know, a hormone high from everything, but it was so emotional and it's so difficult for me to say that, like, not that I was opposed to formula or anything like that, just for me to admit that I couldn't do it anymore. Like, I couldn't keep going down there, and not that I couldn't keep going down there, like, you can go down there whenever you want, but I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep up with it. I had to, like, and if it was one of those things where he just wasn't quite getting quite enough nutrients from breast milk, that if we didn't at least start trying to do a bit of formula, that he wasn't gonna get out of there sooner. And it had come to the point where we wanted to go home so bad. And so we said, like, okay, like, let's do formula, and, you know, of course we'll try breastfeeding and whatever once we get home. And of course I was still like pumping and giving him whatever milk that I did pump, and I would still go down there and breastfeed, just not like every 3 hours, especially at night. It was too much. So we got out of there after quite a long time in the hospital. I should have brought more clothes. I took out some clothes from my last video, and I wish I had brought all of them, because I did not have, I had one pair of like fuzzy cozy pajama pants, and that was all I wanted to wear. And then I had like 2 nursing bras. I should have brought more. Yeah, breastfeeding was going pretty good though once we got back home. But it was hard. It was so hard. It wasn't that he was bad at eating or anything like that. It was just like the frequency of how much he would need to eat and everything is a lot when it's your first baby and you don't realize, and like you're giving up so much of like your own sleep and your own sanity. And for me, it was literally like I was giving up my sanity. And I was doing really good for like the first couple weeks, and then I had my postpartum checkup, and she was like, are you doing okay? Like, are you making sure, like, you know, there's no postpartum depression or anxiety or anything like that? And I was like, I feel great, doing great. Literally 4 days later, or yeah, I want to say like 4 days later, I got hit by a truck. Everything hit me all at once. I was so sad. I couldn't smile. I wanted to cry literally all day. I even went out and like I left and like I went to the grocery store so I could, like, you know, clear my head without the baby. I wanted to cry in the grocery store. I was in such a fog, in such a dump. Like, it is the worst feeling, and you feel so guilty on top of it because you just want to enjoy your baby, and you feel like you can't be everything that you want to be for your baby because you're so sad, but then because you're so sad, you can't. It's just this endless loop, and it was the worst thing out of everything that I experienced. Just that overall feeling of like such sadness, I wouldn't wish on anybody. Like it was so hard. And anyway, I messaged my doctor again, or I messaged the physician's assistant, who was a female, and she's super sweet, and I was like, I don't think I'm doing so good anymore. And we had a like virtual appointment, and she prescribed me Lexapro, which is an antidepressant, and I was super apprehensive about doing an antidepressant because, and I was also having really, really bad anxiety. Like I wasn't sleeping because I would go to sleep and then I would lay in bed and I would be like, but what if he wakes up, like, and then I'm just not going to get any more sleep. Like there's so much anxiety and so much sadness, and yeah, so I was still really apprehensive though about doing antidepressants because I was trying to breastfeed at that point still. It's like I was just scared that like it was going to go into the breast milk and that it was going to affect him. And really, like, the dosage that I am on, like, it's so minor that it's not going to really affect anything. And I haven't seen any changes with him at all. Like, and right now, really though, we aren't breastfeeding any longer. Like I said, he's 3 months old, and I would say we started doing like primarily formula probably after he was 1 month old, maybe even before then, because like I said, it was just too hard for me, especially with like feeling how I was feeling. It was just too much, and I wasn't sleeping enough, and so on and so forth. So I am on Lexapro or escitalopram or something like that, and I think it's made the world of difference for me, honestly. And I don't know, I just think like if you're debating it, just, you know, obviously make your own decisions and stuff like that, but for me, I wish I hadn't been so scared, because truly, like, my days are just so much better and easier because of it. And also, something worth saying is, as time goes on, it does get easier. It really, really does. Like, you don't think you're gonna get out of it, and then you do, and you're on the other side of it, and you feel so much better. Like, sometimes there are hard days, for sure. There are hard nights. There's days where I just want to cry because he's not napping all day and I'm really tired, but like overall I'm handling things, and I'm able to be happy for him, and I'm able to be happy around him, and that's so important. And it's something that people just don't talk about enough, like postpartum depression, postpartum anxiety. So I just wanted to touch on it, that, you know, it is something that I have experienced and dealt with / am dealing with, I guess, because I'm still technically on medication. But yeah, you're not alone. And just even knowing like that my fellow mom friends have taken medication, like, it was so much more comforting than I realized, because I didn't want to feel like I was like that mom who like needed medication because like I couldn't handle it. Like, sometimes we don't know ourselves as well as we think, and I was so stuck in my own head that like I was gonna be a bad mom, and that I wasn't enough for him, and that's completely the opposite. And all he needs is a happy mom who can feed him and provide for him, and if I can't even be happy for him, then like, you know, that's really gonna affect how he is. So yeah, I'm really happy that I decided to actually go that route, and I'm finally past the guilt of not breastfeeding, because it was ridiculous how guilty I was making myself feel for just doing something for me. Like, in the end, it was a choice that I had to make for myself, because I wasn't handling it, I wasn't doing well. So yeah, I had to make that choice for myself, and if you have to make that choice, don't feel bad about it. Just do what's best for you, do what makes you happy, because it's going to affect how your baby is and how everything is around you. Like, you have to be happy, you know, you deserve to be, and if you needed to hear that, I'm telling you now. He is a happy little guy. He's been pretty easy. He has dealt with a decent bit of acid reflux, which was really hard. It's like going through this thing where I was like trying to try all these new bottles because I was like, maybe that will help him. It ended up being that I switched back to these bottles that were like $8 for like 3 of them. I think they're the even flow bottles. They're just super basic and they work the best for him. Like, I was trying all these different ones. I tried Tommy Tippy, I tried Avent, I've tried Nuck, I've tried, there was another one, I forget. But yeah, I was going through like a bottle phase, and now I have all these extra baby bottles, and the ones that work for him the best are literally so cheap. So I mean, hopefully he'll end up growing, you know, completely out of his acid reflux and liking those bottles, because I think like once he gets older he won't be as picky. Not that he's like picky, like he'll eat out of anything, but he would like be smacking so much and inhaling so much air with the other bottles that it was just making his reflux worse, and then he would be like arching back and he would be crying and screaming, and it just like, it's so much, and it's literally exhausting when you're going through it, and you feel terrible because you don't know how to really help him, because like they're in pain and they don't even know why, and you're not really sure how to help them that much. Like, there's only so much you can do, you know. You can sit them upright and you can burp them and whatever, and you can give them breaks. Like, I was doing everything, but he kind of just, I feel like he mostly has outgrown it now. But like 2.5 month mark was when it got like really bad, and it was really hard. So, and he was just crying all the time, and he wasn't wanting to go to sleep at night, and it was just, yeah, it's tough. It's tough being a mom in many aspects, but it's worth it, and I'm happy to say that I think that now, because sometimes, I mean, I wouldn't say I ever thought that it wasn't worth it, but it was hard to see the good things, you know. Like, he would be cute and he would be happy and he would be smiling, and Joseph would be like, you know, with him, but I would be looking at him, and sometimes there were days where I would feel so overwhelmed that I wouldn't want to hold my own baby, and that was part of it. And if you're feeling that way, like, all I can say is please talk to someone, because you don't need to be feeling that way all the time. So anyway, I guess that's it. I'm amazed that he is still asleep. He's been asleep for I think 2 hours now, and I'm like, should I get him up? Because what if he doesn't like go back to sleep tonight? I don't know. But yeah, he is smiling. He loves looking at my phone, and whenever I try to like take a picture of him, he like sees my phone and is like not smiling anymore. So but yeah, maybe I will try and show you guys him once he wakes up. But I've missed you guys. I've missed being on here. Truly, like a month ago or so, I definitely would not have been able to film a video. Like, it was just too hard, too much going on. Also, we've been having a lot of visitors, which has been great. Joseph's sister, she stayed with us for a week, and it was a godsend. Like, she was cooking meals for us, she was babysitting him, she would give him bottles, or maybe not give him bottles, but like she would, I guess I was also trying to still breastfeed a bit at that point, so like I was doing most of the feeding and stuff, but she would change him and she would help him go to sleep, and it was just like heavenly. Like, she was such a help, and I'm so thankful that she was out here, and I was so anxious about her coming and staying with us, and like I was thinking like, oh, like it's just gonna be so much with another person here. It was amazing. Like, I miss her. Please come back if you're watching this. Yeah, like, your anxiety will tell you all sorts of crazy things. Like, and then, you know, my mom and dad came out a couple weeks later, and I was still really anxious about it. It was great. It was great. I loved having them. And then, you know, from there, like, things have progressively gotten a bit easier. Like, my mom was just out here for 2 weeks, which was a long time. It was a long time. But I really needed her out here at that point. I was going through a really hard day, and I just said, like, I wish you were out here, and she booked a flight for like 2 days later. It was Truly, I am surrounded by such amazing, loving people, and if one of you is watching this, I couldn't be more grateful. And my baby's crying. I'm gonna go get him so he can say hi. Okay, so here he is. He's very interested in what's going on right now. And he just woke up, so he's a little sleepy. This is my pride and joy, my everything. Are you gonna say hi? I mean, he can't talk yet, but yeah, he's a little dazed, huh? Yeah, a little out of it because he just woke up from a nap. Yeah. I don't know how much I'm gonna be showing him on camera on my channel. Like, I mean, it's not that I even upload that consistently anyway, clearly. I don't know, I'm not really like trying, like, I do like vlogging and stuff like that, so I mean, he'll probably make appearances, but I don't know that I'm gonna be turning into like a family channel or anything like that, so I don't know. I have no idea how anything's gonna go. I mean, I still just do this for fun, and it's like a hobby, so I'm not making any money off this channel or anything like that, so keep that in mind. So anyway, yeah, this is him. I love him very much. His name's Calvin, and he was worth every grueling second. For sure. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. If you're a mama, you're a strong, amazing person, and if you're a dad, you're also a strong, amazing person. And if you're a baby, then you were a cute little pumpkin. And I guess that's everything, so I will talk to you guys later. Thank you for watching. I love ya.